Namaste, aloha, welcome to the Yoga Wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita. My name is Janapati Das, and we do this class once a month. And just going to adjust that real quickly. Okay. Please accept my respects, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. We are going to get into some verses in the Bhagavad Gita as it is, translated and purported upon His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, my spiritual grandfather. I offer my most humble obeisances to him. And we are very grateful for the work, extensive work and outreach of Krishna consciousness that my spiritual grandfather has engaged in. Without his mercy and his kindness upon us all, I would not be here, because my spiritual master would not have come in contact with him. So we are going to do that. But first we're going to engage in the most important service that one can do, and the most powerful form of meditation in this day and age of Kali Yuga, and that's the hearing and chanting of Krishna's names. So before I do that, I'd like to offer my most humble obeisances unto Jagadguru Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Srila Prabhupada, my life and soul, my spiritual master, who taught me everything about the Bhagavad Gita, what we're going to discuss tonight. So let's chant and be happy. Please join along. Hopefully my guitar is in tune. We won't be doing that one. Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramamsa Namine Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Pristaya Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Pristaya
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Haribo. Umakana Tamiran Dashangadan Jala Shalagada. Traksha Militam Inatashma Shukola Venama. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. So, welcome again to the Bhagavad Gita, the wisdom, yoga wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita. And so, the Bhagavad Gita, of course, Bhagavan means God, and Gita means song or music. The Bhagavad Gita, as it is, and is titled as it is because it is about Krishna and our eternal relationship with Krishna. And this is represented, the living entity, the spirit soul, is represented by the conversation of Arjuna, the Prince Warrior Arjuna, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, on the battlefield before the battle of Kurukshetra. But the Bhagavad Gita is an eternal conversation that goes on. And there's so much to it, so many layers, so much depth and wisdom. That's why it's called the wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita as it is, because the Bhagavad Gita is a pretty often translated, because it's so significant in Vedic literature and world literature, that many so-called scholarly professor type, even Western types, have learned Sanskrit and translated. But Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada entitled this as it is because this wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita can only be understood by one who actually surrenders to the pure lover and devotee of Krishna. As is stated here, Arjuna is surrendering to Krishna, and Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the original spiritual master of all worlds. Actually, he is the source of all things. But as it said, the guru is one, but there is a disciplic lineage of teachers. As I have a teacher, my teacher had a teacher, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada had a teacher, Bhaktisiddhanta. And these, as stated in Luke chapter 4, verse 34, one should try to learn the truth about, the absolute truth about things. Not just by speculation or by, just following any, Joe, Dick, or Harry, as they would say, but actually surrendering to a pure lover of Krishna, one who has surrendered themselves to the feet of a pure devotee, devotee of Krishna in the spiritual lineage of spiritual masters, and applied the knowledge that he's been given in their life and understood it, and is able to hand it down, just as like one person hands down. Sometimes you get these people that eat these huge mango trees, right? You see them in many third world countries. It's been India, and this is of course India, but when I was in Africa for a few years as a Peace Corps volunteer, they had humongous mango trees, and that was just this really amazing mangoes. They were huge and sweet, and just on mango season, you'd go to the market and you'd see tables and tables of these mangoes, and oh my God, I miss those. But they had to sell them really. You couldn't just throw them off the tree. They had to climb up the tree, and they would hand the mangoes down to each other until they finally got it into the basket, and they were able to lower the basket down. But this process of handing down a perfect mango is similar to the spiritual knowledge the Bhagavad Gita, you know. And that verse in chapter 4:34 says, just try to learn the truth by approaching the spiritual master, render humble service unto him, and he will impart knowledge to you. In other words, because the self-realized lover of Krishna, I'm paraphrasing, of course, the verse, can deliver the truth because he has understood the truth, right? So, this is the process. And we're going to read some verses from chapter 8, which is called Attaining the Supreme. Krishna is actually explaining, he's unveiling the absolute truth to Arjuna. And this is the Bhagavad Gita as it is. And it starts from a very, very, very basic point that Krishna is explaining to Arjuna. Arjuna is not wanting to fight his relatives and friends in the battle. He doesn't want his friends to die, so he's just saying, I'd rather just go off to the forest and be a yogi. And one of the first things, the key point in spiritual life is to understand who are you, right? And so Krishna is telling Arjuna that there's never been a time that any of these people, nor you nor myself, has not existed, nor will cease to exist, which is a very radical point, which comes to the understanding that we're not our body or our mind or the labels of our body, the designations of our body and our mind are temporary stayovers, but we are eternal spiritual entities. And so this is a very important point to understand in spiritual life, and it basically alleviates so much anxiety. And we're going to read some of these verses in chapter 8. And I actually want to start with, because there is something about death, and because Arjuna is about to engage in a major battle in which a lot of people are going to die, and he may even die himself. But this is a very important point that Krishna is trying to explain to him. And this is from, I'm going to read, okay. Yeah, I'm going to start with these two verses, chapter 8, text 5 and 6. And it says, and whoever at the time of death quits his body remembering me alone at one attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. I'm just going to go on to chapter 6. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. So this is a very major point here, and I'm going to read some of the purports that Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada has laid out. And because his purport is perfect, mine is not. In this verse, the importance of Krishna consciousness is stressed. Anyone who quits his body in Krishna consciousness is at once transferred to the transcendental abode of the Supreme Lord. It's not only really important to understand the fact that we are spiritual in essence, but what is our position? What is our position? Are we the Supreme Spirit? Are we not? Are we the servant? Here it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita as it is, that we are the infinitesimal, stated in chapter 2 also, infinitesimal spirit, spark of God. Same quality of spiritual energy, not the material energy, but spiritual energy, but not the same quantity as the Supreme. Right? We are the infinitesimal servant of the Supreme. And our function is to render loving service to Krishna, which is why Krishna ultimately says, just abandon all the varieties of religion and these rules and paths and different yogic ways of doing things, and just surrender unto me, because I am the source of you. I am your eternal loving father, friend, essence of. So remember, okay, so it said here that one who is in Krishna consciousness, thinking about Krishna, remembering Krishna, loving Krishna is to know Krishna, as my spiritual teacher would say. You know, loving Krishna is to love Krishna is to know Krishna. So it's not really even Arjuna had tried. You know, he was very knowledgeable about the Vedic paths, and he was laying out all these reasons why he shouldn't fight. But Krishna is basically saying to love me is to know me, not to mentally speculate about things or to, you know, try to, you know, bring out all these kind of cards of like, this is what I know about this and this is what I know about that, right? The word smaran, remembering, is important. Remembrance of Krishna is not possible for the impure soul who has not practiced Krishna consciousness in devotional service. To remember Krishna, one should chant the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Incessantly following in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya. Being more tolerant than a tree, humbler than the grass, and offering all respects to others without requiring respect in return. In such a way, one will be able to depart from the body successfully remembering Krishna and so attain the supreme goal. So Bhaktivedanta there has stated Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's third prayer. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the incarnation of Krishna in this day and age of Kali Yuga to bring about the Sankirtan Yajna, or the practice of the hearing and chanting of Krishna's names. And Lord Chaitanya was a great scholar, because he was the Supreme Lord, of course. He was but he came as a devotee of Krishna, you know, even though he was Krishna, he came as a devotee of Krishna. So in the mood of the devotee of Krishna. And he only wrote 8 prayers. He could have written so many. He taught his disciples everything, and they wrote many books, right? But Chaitanya only wrote these few prayers, and in the prayer, but they encapsulated everything, because and you can meditate upon these prayers so wonderfully. So the third prayer, of course, is Bhaktivedanta started outlining in there, is one should chant the holy names of the Lord in a humble state of mind, feeling oneself to be lower than the straw on the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respects to others and never expecting respect in return. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy names of the Lord constantly. And so that's such a beautiful prayer. And here Bhaktivedanta is making this point that one should just chant Krishna, Krishna, you know, chant Krishna's names in a humble state of mind. You know, we are very fallen in this material world, in this age of Kali. But by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, who is known as Patita Pavana, he is the deliverer of the most fallen. And he, just like he did, he delivered so many fallen souls, thieves, murderers, rapists, to become devotees of Krishna and to turn away from their prostitutes, you know, I mean, everybody. So in such a way, one will be able to depart from the body successfully remembering Krishna and so attain the supreme goal. So in this next verse, whatever state being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. And that purport is, the process of changing one's nature at the critical moment of death is here explained. How can one die in the proper state of mind? Maharaj Bharat thought of a deer at the time of death, and so was transferred to that form of life. However, as a deer, Maharaj Bharat could remember his past activities. Of course, the cumulative effect of the thoughts and actions of one's life influences one's thoughts at the moment of death. Therefore, the actions of this life determine one's future state of being. If one is transcendently absorbed in Krishna's service, then his body will be transcendental, spiritual, not physical. Therefore, the chanting of Hare Krishna is the best process for successfully changing one's state of being to transcendental life. So a very important point, and something that we all have to deal with, because we all have to come to the point of leaving this body. And I've kind of had to deal with this more recently in the last 6 months. My father left his body. I helped him do that. And we all know that we have to leave, but we don't act on the platform of thinking about what exactly is going to happen. Many times when things are good, your health is good, you feel good, you're young or you're married, you have a great career, things are going really, really good, you think, I can handle that, I can handle that, right? Or, well, as some people think, when you die, that's it, because there is nothing beyond, right? But there's a great amount of fear in death if you don't know, or if you think that nothing is going to happen. And there have been many examples of people who have come to the point of death thinking that, oh well, it's not a big deal, I'm just going to die, and then that'll be it. There's nothing to be afraid of, because I'm just going to, or those few people who are like, they've got these people now, they've always been around, they're going to defeat death, right? They're going to be immortal. They just got to take the right vitamins, and come up with they got the money to spend, so they're coming and studying and researching all these types of new technologies that will keep people alive, or maybe they'll use AI. I don't know, but they've been trying to do that for thousands of years, and all the people that thought they were going to live forever taking the right pill or whatever, they died, and so it's really important to take your moment every day and cultivate. And this is what the spiritual teacher teaches you. This is what Krishna was teaching Arjuna, was just to surrender to Krishna. And the spiritual master is a representative. He is the external manifestation of Krishna's mercy. He tells you how to go down that path, what to do every day to cultivate your loving relationship with Krishna. So that comes that time when you have to go, and it may go sooner than later. The perfect example of that is that I have some friends who they chanted, and they're a very wonderful family. Then they had a few kids, and there was these floods in the central Texas, right? And they were on their way to on 4th of July. They were on their way early in the morning when it was still dark in the storm, to go to camp and drop off their eldest daughter to camp. Well, they came around where the bridge was, but they couldn't see that the bridge had actually washed out. And so their car, at the last minute, they just realized that their car was in midair and plunged into this river. And they were all in this minivan in this river, all one mother, father, the younger brother, the younger sister, and the eldest sister. And the eldest sister, the water was coming in. The eldest sister managed to get the door open so they could all escape. Well, they all struggled to. You saw these waters; things were floating in them, cars and whatever. They managed to get to shore, except for the eldest daughter, who was missing, and went missing for They looked for her for 2 days until they actually found her body. And so she was 17 years old. Her body was 17 years old. So we think, I'm 17, or, things are good, everything is good, and, sure, I will die eventually, but that'll be like when I'm 90 or something like that. No, it happens all the time. You just don't know. You have no lease for so it's super tragic. But, we can actually defeat death. As this says in the Bible, that death, where is thy sting, right? Arjuna had this fear, this lamentation of like all of his relatives and friends on the battlefield dying or having to kill them, but he was killing their body, and Krishna was explaining to them that they're not going to die. That whether you kill their body now or whether their body is killed by time or some other accident, it will happen, and you should be prepared. The best preparation is to cultivate your loving relationship with Krishna, to understand the true knowledge that spiritual master comes, that Krishna loves you. You're in a loving relationship, but you have forgotten this relationship. You think, this is me, I'm this guy from America who's 56, and I've got this, I'm married to this person, and that's my wife and my son, and I've got a cat, and it's like, I've got a job, and this is what I'm planning to do, and it's like, you think, this is what it is. But no, there is an actual higher and larger reality about these things, Janapati does, and my existence in this body will come to an end. It could come to an end any time now. It could come to an end in 30 years. Let's say, but it will eventually come to an end. But we can take to this knowledge that's been given to us by our spiritual teachers, apply them in our life daily, make it a ritual, part of our life. Meditation is not something that you do in between coffee and work. It's something you come to learn that meditation upon Krishna is something that you do in your whole day, your whole life, actually. Whether even if it's doing something that's seemingly material, like you could be going to work, you're not sitting there and you're chanting Krishna's names, but you might be doing crunching numbers, or you may be teaching kids like I do, and you're not teaching them about Krishna, but it's like you're dovetailing that service to your spiritual master, to Krishna, and you understand that this is given to me by Krishna so I can help people understand about Krishna, or I can help cultivate my own family's life in pursuit of Krishna. So that's all explained about in the Bhagavad Gita, in the chapters entitled Karma Yoga. So let's read some more here, because this is some really good. So I'm just going to jump ahead. Here, it's another one, more of this. I feel like I'm getting chomped by another living entity, mosquito. And, okay. So this is from text 14 in chapter 8. For one who remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Prita, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. Purport. In this verse, the bhakti yoga of the unalloyed devotees of the Supreme Godhead is described. The preceding verses mention 4 different kinds of devotees: the distressed, the inquisitive, those who seek material gain, and the speculative philosophers. Different processes of liberation from material entanglement have also been described: karma yoga, jnana yoga, and hatha yoga. But here, bhakti yoga without any mixture of these is mentioned. In bhakti yoga, the devotees desire nothing but Krishna. So the ultimate goal, of course, bhakti is devotion, is the connection in devotion of thinking about Krishna. And here's what Krishna is actually explaining, different paths that ultimately lead to this idea. He's telling Arjuna, just surrender unto me, do this for me, do this service. This is your offering of a lei or a flower to me, is your abilities to fight and kill. So he's saying, do this as a service to me without any attachment for the results, whether good or bad. And that's a pretty amazing and drastic statement, to do that. Because normally we have conditions for what we want to do, even if it's supposedly good or spirit, so-called, spiritual or whatever. We want to get the, time on the news because we jumped in and saved some people, or we want a medal, or we want recognition and our name on the plaque, or we want something from it, But Krishna's saying here, just do it as an offering to me. And that is the goal, which ultimately brings the devotee of Krishna to, that's all they want, is to please Krishna. And that's enough. That's enough for them. They don't need anything else. Even though Krishna may be willing to offer anything to the devotee who offers things to him, he's not really interested. So it's wonderful. One can begin simply by chanting Hare Krishna. I just saw that in there in the purport. So that's where it does begin. There's so many things, but ultimately the chanting of Krishna's name is the most important offering that one can do. And it is the most powerful and beneficial service to chant Krishna's names, because Krishna's names is non-different than Krishna, right? So that is a very wonderful thing, and I'm going to actually do a little bit of that, and we're going to call it for tonight. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama. Haribol Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribol, Haribol Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribol, Haribol Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribol, Haribol Nitai Gaur. Haribol Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribol, Haribol Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribol, Gauranga, 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 Haribol, Gauranga, 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 Haribol. Gauranga, 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 Haribol. Gauranga, 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 Haribol. Jai Jai Gurudev, Jai Srila Prabhupada, Jai Jai Gurudev, Jai Jai Srila Prabhupada, Jai Jai Gurudev, Jai Srila Prabhupada, Jai Jai Gurudev, Jai Jai Srila Prabhupada. Haribol, thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening. And always remember Krishna. Never forget Krishna.